Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Nick. In today's video, I want to talk about why is your crested gecko on the ground. There's a couple pretty typical reasons, so let's just get right into it. So one thing before we do get into the video, I just want to point out how freaking big Bourbon is getting. My goodness, look at that, guys. I think I'm going to start doing this where, since we're getting to the point of the channel where it's been around for so long, I think that you guys kind of know, you know a lot of the geckos, and you guys saw, I mean, Bourbon was on this channel, like, he was like this big when we got him. I mean, probably like that, but tiny, you know? So, it's really neat to just see him, like, all grown up. I'll actually get a weight on him real quick. He is 27 grams now. When we got him, he was like 3, and that was, like, a year and a half ago now. So, it's pretty cool to just keep you guys updated. I know that in the comments, some of you guys have been asking for more, like, updates on geckos. So I might just start throwing them in right before I get into my video, just so you guys can kind of see, you know, how everybody's doing. So the first reason that your gecko might be on the ground is they're weird, okay? I've always kind of been on this, I've always subscribed more to the belief that they are more semi-arboreal than they are arboreal, because in the wild and in captivity with me, they eat from the ground. So crested geckos being on the ground, it's not the weirdest thing. You know, they're gonna explore their whole tank. They're gonna use every bit of it. And in the wild, they eat from the ground. The bugs that they eat are on the ground. They don't have jaws to eat, you know, fruit and trees. They have jaws to eat rotten fruit on the ground, right? So that is just something that I subscribe to more, is they're more semi-arboreal than arboreal, in my opinion. So another reason that they might be on the ground is sometimes, depending on how your tank's laid out, if you have nice foliage that goes down to the ground, a lot of times you'll find that they might nestle themselves like kind of in the back of the tank where that foliage is, and they'll just sleep on the ground because they're all covered. It's like a really nice 3-zone protected area, and they just feel nice, and that's where they fall asleep. And then the next night you might find them and they're sleeping in the middle of the tank in the wide open at the very highest perch. They're weird, you know. I've noticed a lot of my geckos will go on cycles where they will sleep in the same spot for a week, and then all of a sudden randomly one night they sleep in a different spot, and then 2 weeks later they find a new spot. So it's something to just kind of don't get freaked out if your gecko's on the ground just because they're sleeping, because they'll do that. It's not unheard of. Now, if your gecko's laying on the ground, like in the wide open, and it's not moving, or it's being very lethargic, or its eyes are sunken in, okay, then you have an issue with your gecko being on the ground. So you really have to monitor your gecko and just understand, what are they doing. One thing that you'll find is sometimes when a gecko is going to the ground, it's because they're looking for humidity. So I see this a lot in like paper towel apparatus, you know, substrates, is where the gecko tries to get under the paper towel because they're trying to get humidity. Paper towel's terrible at holding humidity. Don't recommend it. Use spag moss and cocoa fiber mix and get it damp and just mist it as needed. And even then, sometimes, guys, your misting will be perfect, your substrate will be the perfect everything, and your gecko will still dig in there because they want it to be as high a humidity as possible, and that's what they like. So it's just one of those things where some of them like to dig, and some of them like to sleep in spag moss. I've definitely seen that a lot, where they like to get under spag moss to sleep. I think a lot of that, once again, goes back to a coverage thing, where they're covered from all angles, so they feel very safe that way. I don't know, like, I know in the wild that they sleep in like bushes that are a couple feet off the ground and things like that. I'm sure that geckos will sleep on the ground in the wild at times. I mean, I don't really know, because I know that we don't really have a whole lot about them, but that wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world if you found a gecko sleeping on the ground. I mean, it would be very weird, but I don't think it'd be like, unbelievable, this gecko never touches the ground, you know? So, okay, so one thing that I highly, highly, highly recommend you check if your gecko's on the ground all the time is you need to check your temperatures, okay? This is probably like the first time where we get to something that could be a big deal as to why your gecko's on the ground. If you, for some reason, if you have a heat lamp on your tank, first of all, get rid of that. You don't need that. If you do have a heat lamp on your tank, I recommend a CHE, a ceramic heat emitter, connected to a thermostat and set to about 75 to 77, somewhere in there. But sometimes people will put heat lamps on top of their tanks, and these guys don't need that, and they don't if that tank gets too hot, then they're gonna go to the bottom of the tank and they're gonna try to get as cool as possible. Because hot air rises and cold air goes down. So they're trying to get as cool as possible. So really make sure you check your temperatures, because that can be a huge deal. Another thing that they could be doing is something simple as looking for food. I've kind of touched on this already, but you know, I feed all my geckos from the ground. I put their food bowl on the ground. So for me, it's not that weird to see them on the ground, because they're usually looking for food. They're climbing on different obstacles down there and things like that. So they could just be simply looking for food, and that is totally fine. Let them be. If you see a gecko on the ground a lot and you see that they're not really touching their food up top as much anymore, maybe just put some on the ground and you'll be, you know, just see if it works out for you. Another reason that your gecko could be on the ground is if it's a female and she's looking for a spot to lay. This is usually pretty obvious though, because I have females, and I'm sure some of you do too, that will dig like multiple holes, and they will dig in multiple areas before finding the perfect area to lay, because these guys know where's the best parts to lay. And I do think that part of it is too, I do wonder, I don't think there's much like, there's not a whole lot of science behind this or anything, but because I do use substrate in my tubs, my females will lay anywhere in their tub. So it is weird though, whenever sometimes I come across an area where I can see she's been digging there, but then her eggs are in a different spot. Now, I don't know if this is, I think it has more to do with her saying, digging to this spot and being like, this one's not right for me, going somewhere else. But it would be fun to think that maybe she's like trying to throw me off so I don't get her eggs. But I don't think that that's the case at all, because I don't think that these guys really care about their eggs after they lay them. I mean, we kind of know that they don't. But that is something that could be happening. It's just your gecko's looking for a spot to lay, so don't be too concerned if she is digging or looking around on the ground. And honestly, the last reason your gecko might be on the ground is they're just exploring. It's their home, it's their tank, they feel comfortable, and if they feel comfortable, they might be weird enough to just want to walk on the ground and chill on the ground for a little bit. I mean, it makes sense, especially since these guys are in captivity. There's no real risk of predators coming for them. While they don't really know that, I don't think at least, I think that they do get comfortable, because if you go, in their minds, if these things are born and they never ever see a predator or anything other than us humans, and you get them like this where they're just chill with you, then they're probably not going to be too freaked out by anything, because I'm the biggest thing in here and he's just chilling, right? So it's just something to think about, is just, they're just chilling, they're comfortable, they're exploring. Like I said, big thing, just make sure your temps are good, and if you got a laying female, then it's really not that weird. And make sure your temps and your humidity are good. That's the biggest thing. If that checks out and your gecko's eating, don't worry about it, just let them chill. Just think that they're just being cute. They're just being little cute little geckos. So that's the video, guys. I hope this helped maybe ease some of your gecko on the ground anxiety. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, and until next time, guys, stay safe and stay positive.